The traditional crunch after 40 isn't just a waste of time. It's the exercise that puts the most pressure on your lower back, activates the least actual core muscle, and leaves you sore in the wrong place the next morning. And while you keep grinding through 50 reps that deliver nothing, there are 4 exercises that build a stronger midsection in a smarter way, a safer way, and with visible results in weeks. Those 4 exercises are in this video, and once you understand why they work better, you won't want to go back to the old way. Exercise 1. Plank. The plank is the starting point and the most underestimated core exercise that exists for anyone over 40. Most people look at the plank and assume it's too easy, that it doesn't produce real results, that it's for people who are just getting started. That reading is completely wrong, and it's exactly what causes people to skip past it toward more complex movements without ever building the foundation everything else depends on. The core isn't a single muscle. It's an entire region made up of layered muscles working together to keep your body stable in every movement you make, in the gym, at work, and in daily life. The plank trains exactly that function, holding everything firm while the body supports its own weight against gravity. And after 40, that function becomes increasingly important. The lower back starts absorbing more pressure as the years pass, especially in people who spend long hours seated, or who have any history of discomfort in that area. The plank strengthens the muscles surrounding the lower back in a way that creates a natural support structure around it. Not a metaphor, that's literally what happens when the core is strong. The lower back works less, absorbs less stress, and hurts less. How to do it? Rest your forearms on the floor with elbows directly below the shoulders, extend the legs behind you, and press the toes into the ground. The body forms a straight line from head to heels. Hips don't rise, don't drop. They stay in line. Breathe normally and hold that position for the target time. The most common mistake in the plank is letting the hips drift in either direction. When the hips drop, the lower back curves downward and absorbs unnecessary pressure. When they rise, the exercise loses effectiveness because the load distributes incorrectly. The straight line is what makes the plank work. For anyone starting out or returning after time away, begin with 20 to 30 seconds. Rest and repeat 3 times. As it gets easier, extend the time gradually. There's no urgency. The goal isn't to hit 2 minutes in the first week. It's to hold the correct position for as long as you can and progress consistently from there. There's one detail about the plank that connects directly to the second exercise. The stability it builds is exactly what you'll need to execute the next movement with any real quality. Without that base, the second exercise loses a significant portion of its effectiveness. Before you keep watching, hit subscribe, drop a like, and turn on notifications so you never miss content like this and help get real training information in front of more people. Exercise 2. Knee raise. If the plank is the stability exercise, the knee raise is the strength exercise, and the one most men over 40 should be doing in place of the traditional crunch. The logic is simple. In the traditional crunch, you lie on the floor and raise the torso toward the legs. That movement appears to work the abs, but in practice it places significant pressure on the lower spine, especially in the early reps, where momentum substitutes for what the muscle should be doing. In the knee raise, the movement is reversed. The torso stays stable and the legs move toward the torso. That inversion completely changes what happens at the lower back. It shifts from a position of pressure to a position of stability. The result is more abdominal work and less lower back strain on every single rep. How to do it? This exercise can be performed lying on the floor, braced on a bench, or hanging from a bar, depending on your level. In the most accessible version, lying on the floor, lie on your back. Place your hands alongside the body or tucked under the hips for support, and draw the knees toward the chest in a controlled manner. Control the ascent and lower without letting the feet hit the floor before the next rep begins. The critical point is the descent. It's extremely common to let the legs fall quickly after pulling the knees in, and the descent is exactly where half the work happens. The muscle is breaking the weight of the legs, and that braking effort is one of the primary stimuli for strengthening the lower portion of the abs. For anyone starting out, 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps with complete control are worth far more than 3 sets of 20 with the legs dropping loose. Reduce the number and raise the control. Results show up much faster that way. And before the third exercise, the one that adds a completely different dimension to core training that most people have never included, here's a question. Have you ever done a single rotation exercise in your ab training? Because without one, an important part of the core never receives any real stimulus at all. Exercise 3. Bicycle crunch. Simple name, straightforward concept. It's the traditional crunch with a trunk rotation that completely changes which muscles are doing the work. The core isn't a flat wall. It has layers, and the diagonal layers running along the sides of the torso are responsible for stability during rotation, for holding posture through twisting movements, and for that lateral definition that shows when the midsection is genuinely developed. The problem is that the traditional crunch doesn't meaningfully engage those lateral layers, and most people have never included a single rotation exercise in their core training. The bicycle crunch addresses that directly and safely. How to do it? Lie on your back with knees bent and feet flat on the floor. Hands rest lightly behind the head. Not pulling the neck, just providing light support. Lift the torso and simultaneously rotate one elbow toward the opposite knee. Lower in a controlled manner and alternate sides. The rotation doesn't need to be dramatic. A moderate twist already activates the lateral layers effectively. The most common mistake here is using the neck to pull the torso instead of using the abs. When that happens, the neck tightens, the head thrusts forward, and the exercise stops delivering any real benefit. The cue that fixes it. Keep your eyes on the ceiling throughout the movement. The gaze travels with the torso. It doesn't lead it. After 40, rotation carries an additional benefit beyond muscle development. It maintains trunk mobility, which tends to decrease with age, particularly in people who hold the same position for extended periods during the day. A torso that rotates freely is a torso that protects the spine during the movements of daily life. 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps alternating sides delivers complete stimulus to the lateral layers. Combined with the plank and the knee raise, you now have 3 dimensions of the core being trained: stability, frontal strength, and rotation. The 4th exercise closes the sequence with something entirely different, and it's what adds genuine intensity to the session without needing any equipment at all. Exercise 4. Mountain climber. The name says it all. It's the plank in motion, and it's what transforms a static core session into a demand on the midsection that none of the previous 3 exercises deliver on their own. In the held plank, you maintain a fixed position against gravity. In the mountain climber, you maintain that same position while the legs drive alternately toward the chest, like running in place with your hands on the floor. That requires the core to work continuously to prevent the hips from swaying side to side with every leg movement. The result is an exercise that trains stability and strength simultaneously, at a pace that raises the heart rate, meaning you burn more energy during the core session without needing a treadmill before or after. How to do it? Start in a high plank position. Hands on the floor directly below the shoulders, arms extended, body in a straight line. Drive one knee toward the chest, return to the starting position, and drive the other knee. The pace can be slower for anyone starting out and increases as conditioning improves. The most common mistake is letting the hips rise when the legs move. When the hips climb, the body loses the straight line. The core drops out of its peak working position, and the exercise becomes significantly less effective. Keep the hips in line. That's the only instruction that truly matters here. For anyone over 40 who doesn't yet have much endurance in this movement, start with 3 sets of 20 seconds of effort and 40 seconds of rest between them. As conditioning improves, extend the work intervals gradually. Starting slow is completely fine. Starting with the wrong form is the only real problem. Why these 4 and not the traditional crunch? Now that you know the 4 exercises, it's worth understanding clearly why they outperform the repetitive crunch most people default to. The traditional crunch isn't inherently a bad exercise. The problem is how it's executed by most people and the cost it carries on the lower back when done in high volume with poor technique. When you grind through 50 crunches without controlling the movement, what actually happens is this. Momentum substitutes for muscle in the early reps. The lower back curves excessively on every repetition, and the neck and hips start compensating for what the abs should be doing. The result is fatigue without real muscular stimulus and lower back discomfort that compounds quietly over time. The 4 exercises in this video work better because each one demands active core control throughout the entire movement, not just at the peak of the rep. They engage more muscles simultaneously, distribute effort more intelligently, and allow for gradual progression without loading the spine unnecessarily. After 40, that combination of efficiency and safety isn't optional. It's what separates people who can train consistently for years without lower back issues from people who quit core training entirely, because it always leaves them sore in the wrong place. How to structure this in practice. 4 exercises, 3 sets each, with 45 to 60 seconds of rest between sets. That's the basic structure that works for most people over 40. Order matters. Start with the plank, which prepares the core for everything that follows. Move to the knee raise, which demands more strength. Then the bicycle crunch, which adds the rotational dimension. Close with mountain climbers, which raise the intensity at the end of the session. Frequency, 2 to 3 sessions per week is sufficient. The core needs recovery time between sessions just like any other muscle group. Adding more sessions without adequate rest doesn't accelerate results. It slows them. The muscle develops during rest, not during the workout itself. Recovery outside the gym follows the same rules as every other muscle. Adequate sleep, sufficient protein spread across the day, and stress management. A core that won't show itself is almost never a training volume problem. It's a recovery and nutrition problem that no amount of extra crunches will fix. A strong midsection doesn't appear overnight. But with these 4 exercises done consistently, with correct technique and proper recovery, the results that weren't coming from the traditional crunch start showing up within weeks. Next time you train abs, replace the traditional crunch with these 4 exercises in that exact order. Do 1 full session with complete control and feel the difference the next morning, because you'll feel the core in a way that 50 crunches never delivered. What's the one thing you're changing in your training after this? Drop it in the comments. If this made sense, share it with someone over 40 who's still grinding through crunches without results. Because the fix is right here. And if you want to keep getting straight, no fluff training content, subscribe and hit the bell. See you in the next one.